Hey, good morning. This is John. I'm just trying to play around a little bit with a new piece of software. I don't know if anyone will even see this, but but we're playing. It's a cold day, snowing outside, uh, but it's an interesting day. This is an interesting piece of software that was given to me for free because of some other things we do. We have a connection with OBBM TV network, and we uh, have some things going with them. We have a channel over there on OBBM. And because of that affiliation, we have this piece of software that I'm testing out. And I'm going to see how this works later on. But it's coffee time. It's cold. I'm watching snow come down out of the sky out my window here. But I don't even know if I can tell if people are connecting via this piece of software unless you leave a chat. I'll add a chat just to see if this shows up. Getting a little late start today. I've been up and online feeding chickens, changing out frozen water, and trying not to fall in the snow. We get snow in here in Texas usually once or twice a year. And thanks, Jake. Good to see you. You guys getting snow out there? I know we actually have quite a bit coming down right now. It's the roads are starting to be covered already. The driveway is still a little clear, mostly because it's got some trees covering it. But I can see snow on the main roads out from my window, and uh, all my family is home today. Two of my kids work for the school district, and the schools are all closed today. And Sarah works from home, and my other daughter is working remotely from her bedroom. She works for Garrett Metal Detectors. So we're all hanging out, staying nice and toasty, drinking coffee or hot cocoa, what have you. If you're still there, Jake, how's the quality on this? I can't tell. I'll have to watch it back later. Yeah, definitely. We got quite a bit of snow. I was surprised when I first woke up this morning. There was just a bit of light rain, and then it started turning over to some big time snow. We got big snowflakes coming down right now. Yeah, and Garland's not too far from us. We're actually pretty close. As far as onions and garlic, we covered a lot of our stuff, even though they're supposed to be cold tolerant. We covered our garlic, we covered onions, and a few other things. I'm not sure. Oh, peas. We have some peas growing out in the garden, and I know we spent time out there Saturday and Sunday harvesting and covering because obviously the Arctic blast that came in, it got pretty darn cold. So yeah, it was uh, not too fun to be out there, but we spent a lot of time out there Saturday and Sunday both. Um, I have all of my figs. I have about 80 plus varieties of figs, and they're all right behind me behind this wall. I have my pickup truck loaded with my big fig pots. I can drive my truck out to the garden, and I load up my truck, and then all the small pots are in the big bay behind me where I park my truck. So I didn't want to take any chances. We like to grow the figs. I'm doing a lot of fig cuttings this year. I have a refrigerator full of fig cuttings that I need to process or sell somewhere along the way. Um, just I don't know if you're local. There's supposed to be a fig meetup or a fig exchange, I will say. I think it's in Pilot Point, which is a bit of a drive for me. But if you're in a local area and up that way, there's a big fig exchange that's going to be happening on the 25th. And Sarah and I are going. We're going to make kind of a date of it because that's our 40th anniversary. The 25th is our 40th anniversary. And so, yeah, I know I don't look 40 years old, do I? Just kidding. But yeah, 40 years on the 25th. We're going to go up there. I'm going to take some figs up to exchange with some people. And then we'll probably go out to dinner or something afterwards on the way home because that's Pilot Point's probably about an hour drive from here, up north. More, it's closer to Oklahoma than it is here, I think. But but it's all good. Um, do you guys all have anything else going on? I mean, I know you're cold out there too, Jake. I have to check in with Bland's Promised Land Ranch too, see what they're up to. I know they're getting some good stuff going too. Oh, good. That's excellent. Yeah, I had one fig that we put in this past spring, and it was maybe 2 feet tall when I put it in, and it got to over 11 feet tall this year. It was crazy. I had to cut it off. We did some fig cuttings from that one. I cut it off from about over 11 feet tall down to probably about 4 feet tall. So there's a lot of fig cuttings in there. But so yeah, I try to protect the figs as best I can because of all the things we did last year, we sold a lot of fig trees, and there's a growing community of people that are interested in figs. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I saw the lazy dog down in Georgia. He does some crazy stuff. Oh yeah, down in Houston. Yeah, I don't know what is it too cold down there, Jake? Because I know up here, man, it got cold, and I know they get that same weather down there once in a while. The roads are crazy, so be careful. And that lazy dog farmer, I watched some of his videos recently, and I know he says he doesn't do any cuttings unless he can do what 52 at a time or something like that, and puts them into trays and starts them there. I can do all that, but that's a lot of work, and I still work full time. So this is just my the side thing that we do. You know, Sarah is pretty much full time gardener, grower, and we're growing the garden. I got to put in a pavilion somewhere along the way. I've got plans for about a 30 by 30 foot pavilion I want to do, and I want to be able to close it up here and there if I want to do screens or something like that. Yeah, 20. That's I love the idea of banana trees. I had one, and it did not survive. I think for our second year, I think it tried to come back, but it didn't make it. They can. I know I've got several friends that one of my friends actually got bananas off of his this year. When I was over there a few weeks ago, he had bananas growing on his banana tree, and he's just in downtown Dallas. So yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. All kinds of stuff. I did get some interesting stuff. I got a connection with a guy who moved here from the Middle East, and he brought some big cuttings with him. And I was able to get a couple of cuttings directly from him that came directly from the Middle East. So I might have a couple of extra of those coming up pretty soon too. Yeah, I enjoy your greenhouse. That's quite a structure you built there. I'm envious. The way you heat that too is pretty awesome. Doing that stove in there with the big pipe. I imagine it works very well. I know even in the cold though, that's a big structure, and I'm sure it still gets cool in there when we get the really really cold weather. But yeah, no, that's what you built there, Jake, is pretty awesome. So yeah, I don't. We've got an acre and a quarter here, and I would love to have something like that, but that'd be a pretty big structure. Yeah, I know. One of the first videos I ever saw from you, Jake, was that tornado structure you built. I don't know if you still have that property or not, but that was pretty interesting. Yeah. I've never eaten a banana right from the tree. I've only had bananas from the supermarket. So I'm sure I have been deprived of the privilege of fresh homegrown bananas. I might have to try that someday. And it's interesting. Most people only know bananas from the supermarket, and I know there's a lot of different varieties. I have a friend that is from Brazil, And he says, "Oh yeah, we used to get all kinds of different varieties uh, at home when he was, just a kid." So yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like figs. If you mention figs to somebody that has no interest or no idea about figs, they only know fig Newtons, and there is such a variety of figs. I mean, some of them are just they melt in your mouth, just sweet. Some of them are honey flavored. A few are more savory. Just so many different varieties. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I know I haven't seen it in person, but I did see your video, and that was pretty awesome. On that the tornado shelter bunker. I love that idea. Uh, the idea, I think about it frequently with the idea of building like a cold storage or a cold room. Uh, but then I look at our property, and we have the way our property is built. We're right at the top of a lake, so all of the neighborhood properties, when we get a lot of rain, it just comes. A lot of it comes right through our property. And I don't know that I could build something underground. It would take some engineering, that's for sure. But yeah, it's one of those things. I wanted to have more storage, more cold storage. So that's an idea I have to play with somewhere along the way. One of the ideas I have is, this workshop that I have is actually bigger than our house. It's 2,400 square feet, and I'm sure I could build a cold room, cold storage in here, and that's probably the way I'll go for the cold storage. But we get enough bad weather and tornadoes and stuff. It's still definitely on my radar to have some type of um, protection, storm shelter. Yeah, I know that culvert. I know you had to. They need some reinforcement, and if I remember, you had to put some reinforcement in there too, if I'm not mistaken. It's been more than 24 hours, so my memory starts to fade at 24 hours. That's like Sarah will often ask me, "Hey, do you remember what we had for dinner a couple nights ago?" It's like, no, it was more than 24 hours ago. But yeah, I still want to get some storm shelter type of stuff. Where can you get those figs? You know, eventually, we if you're interested in figs and are would like to come up here, I can give you fig cuttings easily. I'm happy to share. The figs themselves, eventually, what we want to do is get to the point, and I'm sure we will. I've got 23 in-ground figs right now, and all the rest are in pots. But eventually, we're going to have more figs than we can eat. We didn't this year. Eventually, we will. And so we'll end up selling them. I have a couple of connections to local food hubs, and I'm going to try and see what we can work out with them, and actually selling the fig fruit when we get to that point of having too much. Um, but yeah, if you're interested in fig cuttings and you're local, shoot me an email, or if you want to come by, we love to share the garden, and I've got, like I said, hundreds of fig cuttings right now. This is the time of year we do fig cuttings. So so you can shoot me an email at john@twodoves.com, and we can do something for you for sure. And if you want to come by, we'll hook you up. I know in the fridge right now I've got probably 12 different varieties of fig cuttings right now, and I know I need to do more. It's just a job that I've got to get to, and I only have so much time, and there's only one of me. That's what I always tell people, is like, you got to figure out how much time you have, and because we only get one person that we're responsible for, and we only have so much time. But yeah, I'm sitting here. I've got two computers in front of me. I've got my work computer over on this side, and I'm seeing emails pop up once in a while. Luckily, snow day is pretty quiet. It's been pretty quiet since before Christmas, thankfully. I work for a major telecom company, and I work from home 99.9% of the time. It's going to be 100% of the time here pretty soon because they're going to be moving locations. So they're closing the actual office I go to when I do go to the office, um, relocating it. But yeah, I work on computers around the world for customers and for my company, which is very large. It's not AT&T, but it's like AT&T, only in a different country. um, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. Orange trees. You know, it's interesting, Jake. Have you ever thought, or I don't know, maybe you've done any research about air layering? Can you air layer orange trees? I'm not sure. Yeah, I know you're just down the road. If you want to come by, just shoot me an email. Like I said, I'll put in my email address down here so you can, and just shoot me an email, and we'll set something up. You're welcome to come take a look at it. There's obviously right now in the snow day, there's a lot of frost cloth out there, and there's always activity going on out there. I've got some big projects that are imminent. uh, I've got some major digging to do. I'm probably going to see if I can either rent a Mini X, or I might have a neighbor that has an X excavator that can come do some trenching for me. We're going to be putting in a water lines. And I know they've got to go because of the way we're doing it, we've got to get them 2 feet down. And you know, when you have about we're going to have the garden will be about a half an acre in size. Right now it's maybe a third of that. Always building out though. So we've got a bunch of stuff, big projects, irrigation. I've got to want to tie our rainwater harvesting into our irrigation. But because of some of the things we're doing, we actually have to figure out, we know we can pull it off of our main water line. It has to be, because of what we're doing, it has to be tied into the main water line. And then the rainwater would be considered supplemental. Ultimately, I want to grow our rainwater to be the main process. Yeah, you know, what do you do for that, Jake? As far as your mold, do you just do like a lot of people use the peroxide, and I've seen some people do a mixture of peroxide and water, or alcohol and water, or just when trees get too big, doesn't make any sense a whole lot to get out there with Q-tips or cotton balls, but a spray I think would probably do it. So maybe alcohol or peroxide might mix with water might work. But yeah, that's crazy. And in the greenhouse, of course, that's a perfect growing environment for plants and mold, unfortunately. But that's something to look at for sure. On my fig cuttings, I have to watch for that too, because I tell Sarah that when we do fig cuttings, it's a race. It's a race between rooting and rotting. Yeah, baking soda, yeah, and peroxide water, yeah, that should do it. Oh yeah, you know that's the other thing. Right before this cold came in, um, we have a lot of squirrels. A couple less now. Somehow they ended up with lead poisoning. I don't know how. Anyway, um, we had a lot of squirrels, and I saw a squirrel go up in one of our gutters. On the house, we have the gutter protection stuff, but on the workshop, I don't. So I had to get up there before this major freeze came in and do some gutter clean out. And because I was afraid that the squirrel was building a nest in the actual gutter, which we have had happen before. And we got a little story about that, getting up there on a gutter and surprising a squirrel that it's like, it has no expectation that you're going to be there, is kind of fun. Yeah, yeah. You know, I've thought about somehow making squirrel enchiladas. Uh, I've got one in the freezer. It's in freezer camp right now. So yeah, I need to figure that out. I know they're not too hard to do. I just that's one more thing I need to figure out. But yeah, back to my big projects. I'm building a grape arbor, a grape tunnel. Basically, from our back gate out to the garden, I'm going to build a cattle panel trellis arch and grow grapes on it. And so it'll be kind of a nice little feature for us when we walk out through from the house to the garden. We can walk through this little grape tunnel and hopefully eventually be able to pull grapes as we're walking through there. Also, the irrigation I mentioned. And then we've got some big stuff with the rainwater. As I mentioned, we get all the, if we get a big rain, we get enough to where the rain, the water, when it goes through the back garden, it can move cinder blocks. I mean, it's quite a bit of rain if we get into the big rains. So I'm working on some things to do like a French drain or some type of drain system where I can have that water kind of collect and then go underground to a different part of the yard, or more move it closer to the lake, but still hold some on our property. So I'm working with some people to kind of get some ideas on how we can deal with that. Because when you have enough rain, it's enough. It's nice. You get too much, water is not your friend. It's nice to have, just not too much. So anyway, yeah, it's just big stuff coming up. Yeah, 5,000 gallons. I've got right now about 1,500 gallons. I'm going to be doubling that to 3,000 within probably the next 6 months. Ultimately, I've looked at some things to it getting even bigger. I thought about seeing if I could get a way and if it would make sense to do like a 10,000 gallon, one of those big metal water catchment things. But that might be too much. I still need to play with it. On the big rains, I could get that. I could fill that, 10,000 easily. It just doesn't take much to fill 1,500. 2,500 gallons is, that's not too bad either. It's like in 5,000, 10,000. That's quite a bit of water, and we can use it. It's interesting too. We've been doing some testing. The 1,500 gallons that we have, in the summer, it was full, and with the garden and how much watering we do, we went through that 1,500 gallons, and it lasted about 3 weeks in the summer. From the last rain in the spring until we got rain again, was about 6 weeks. So, and 1,500 was gone in about 3. So I know, if I double it to 3,000, that would probably get me through most of the typical summer from spring till you get rain, those intermittent rains closer to, mid to late summer. So I know I want to at least double it. More would be better. I'm also doing some research and may do some things with these tanks. They're called thin tanks, THIN, thin tanks. They are a very narrow footprint, and I think I can put them down the side of my workshop, and I think I can line up 6 or 7 of them. It's interesting because they hold about the same amount of water as like an IBC tote. I think about 350 gallons. So if I did 6 or 7 of those, that would probably get me what I need. The good thing is it wouldn't block my driveway, and I can still have those right up next to the driveway and drive right past them. The other thing interesting about the thin tanks is that you can do some, they have a system so you can do a living wall, self-watering living wall, just using the water that's in the tanks. So you can grow some plants, almost like hydroponic, almost, on the thin tanks themselves. So I'm doing some research with that, and may have a big project coming up with that. So it's one of those. We got some big projects coming. I haven't nailed down everything that's going to be in it yet, and of course, finances play a part in that too. So we'll have to wait and see what we can do, how much manual labor it's going to take me to get out there. Like I said, there's only one of me to go around, and I'm not getting any younger. And the last year was, one of those years where We had to go out and check on our folks. They're out in California. The I had emergency surgery early last year. About this time last year, I was in the hospital. And so I'm really to the point where the doctor, a surgeon told me, said, you shouldn't be lifting, past like 40 pounds. So I've got to be careful what I do. I always do anyway, but I got to be careful with it. So there's only one of me to go around, and I can only do so much. Yeah, that's I think about that frequently, Jake. It's like you when you look at it, and you have an acre and a quarter. You look at it, it's like that's not bad. That's a pretty good size. But then when you start putting stuff in it and start building stuff and working on projects, it's like, daggone, I really need 5 acres. Excuse me. But yeah, one of the things that's also interesting, Sarah and I went to Italy a few years ago, right after COVID, and we kind of fell in love with Italy. And occasionally we play with the idea of maybe we should look at buying a farm over there. And the way that our system, and Jake, I know our uh, the government is not exactly where we would like it to be. That's for sure. Yeah, tractor. Yeah, one of those things. When I last I bought a lawn tractor. I had to, because I still have lots of grass. Eventually, I want to get to the point where I don't need a lawn tractor. But I played with the idea of getting one of those compact tractors. So not a big one, but something that I could do, that I could hook up like an auger to, that might have a front end loader, and I could certainly use that more often than not, actually. So yeah, definitely the doctor did prescribe a tractor. I'm sure that was the words. I just need to get it written down on a thing and take it to the pharmacy or something. Yeah, but it's one of those things. Italy is very interesting. Yeah, I know no matter where you go in the world, there's positives and negatives. I love the U.S. I mean, I'm a veteran. I've been, I served our country, and I'm happy and that I was born here and live here. But there's something about life in the U.S. and versus life in places like Italy. That's where I'm at in life. Is I want to be able to live a slower life, and that's hard to do here in the U.S. It's possible, but they're not making it easy. That's for sure. Yeah, the governments are definitely leave a lot to be desired. And boy, I have some hope for some of the things I've seen lately. Uh, I think we really need to have a smaller government. Our government's too big, spends way too much money, and they don't care about the people, and that's what it's supposed to be about. So that's my soapbox for today on the government. It's too big. They spend too much money. They think the money is theirs. It's not. It's our money. So anyway, yeah. South America. I've thought about that too. I had a friend that had some land and bought some land in, I think it was Costa Rica. Can't remember. It's been a few years, and his plan was to retire down there. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of the things that we think about. Thankful to be here, but I'm always looking for opportunity. One of the things we want to do is build a place where we can have people and do things like agritourism, and be able to share things with the garden, where people can come and almost like date night type of stuff. Very limited. Don't want big crowds. Not coming here, but a few people that we could share some things with. And some educational types of things, especially for kids and local community and stuff like that. But there's some things I need to do before I want to jump on that bandwagon. This year on my list is to do an LLC, um, because people can sue you for anything at any time at any day, and you know having bees and things around the garden. I know there's some things protections within the state code, but I need to do an LLC. I want to get an LLC. Yeah. So anyway, it's been, I just wanted to test this out. It's been good chatting with you guys. Um, Argentina, yeah, you know, there's lots of opportunities, and I've seen a lot of the world. Most of the time, when I saw the world, it wasn't the best time to see the world, but I've been to Asia. I haven't been to South America other than Juarez, and that's definitely not a good representation. Um, I've been to Europe several times, and uh, there's a lot to see in this world. There's a lot. It amazes me that I meet people regularly that have never left Texas. And of course, Texas is a great place, and it's a big state, a lot to see. But man, even in the United States, there are so many things to see, so many other there's cultural differences within the United States people have no clue about. Um, and I think you need to be able to experience some of that stuff, and meet other people. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. Hey, Sandy, how are you? It's good to see you. So yeah, just testing out this new software I was mentioning earlier. I get it for free because we're doing a thing where we have a connection with a uh, local TV network that they provided this tool to me. So I'm kind of taking a look at it and seeing how this works. Um, it's not the end all be all, but I wanted to test it. So that's what I'm doing today. Um, so yeah, no, it's one of those things. You got to be able to experience things beyond, you know, I have a guy that I work with has never, I think he's gone. I was on a business trip with him to uh, Georgia, Atlanta, and that's pretty much the only time he's been out of the state of Texas. And I'm not sure he should leave Texas, but so yeah, I don't. It's one of those. Yeah, I've grown up on the East Coast. I love the Chesapeake Bay area. I've been up and down the East Coast. I've been through I think all of the states in the South, from Florida all the way across over to California. Um, I was stationed in Nebraska, so I lived in Nebraska for a while. Been up South Dakota. The only few states that I haven't been to are the really upper East Coast. Maine, Vermont, and I haven't been to like Montana, Oregon, Washington. I think those are the only states I haven't been to. Uh, I was in Alaska. Alaska is beautiful too. It's a little too freaking cold for me, but it's beautiful. So one of those things that you need to experience things, and get out of your local area. Yeah, there's Texas and everywhere else. That's for sure. Yeah, no, when I grew up, I was born in Washington D.C., which is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's funny because my mom, my dad, and my brother and I were all born in the exact same hospital. My sister was born in a different hospital. I sometimes wonder about that. Yeah, I kind of tease her about it, but um, uh, so I grew up in the East Coast, lived in Maryland most of my life. Moved to California 6 days after I graduated from high school, and then military. We were in the Midwest, so we were in Nebraska, and we've been to Texas now. We moved to Texas in '96, so we've been here for a while. So yeah, definitely done a bit of traveling. Yeah, I know. I see her videos, and it's like, I haven't been to France yet. I've been to Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg. So I did a bit of traveling, on a couple of trips over to Europe. Um, but I haven't made it to France. Um, but I love to watch her videos, and yeah. You don't want to go, huh? Yeah, I could see it. Nanya on the back 20 in France. Get some of the little the coffee, the French coffee, and some croissants. Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever gone over there, Jake? Have you gone with her on any of her trips? Yeah, it's okay. Australia. I had when I was in the military, I had some friends that were stationed in Australia, and they didn't they liked it, but they were ready to come home. There was, I guess, where they were, they weren't big fans of it. I would love to see it sometime. Um, So yeah, that's one of those things. I got to get my passport renewed too, eventually. I hear they've made it a little easier to do, so I'll have to test that out. I think my passport expired just this last year. I have to have it for occasional travel because I do work for an international company, and on occasion, they would like somebody to come to the main headquarters, which is in London. um, own a big building that they used to, it's in a lot of videos with a big two-letter acronym. Yeah, that's kind of like my dad. My dad always, he's retired again. He retired. I think this is his third time, and this is last time he's been a pastor. He just retired from the ministry last year. It's been 1 year, just about a week ago. But he also worked for a telephone company and multiple companies, and retired a couple of times from those. So it's he doesn't travel anymore either, though. My stepmom would love to travel, but they're both getting up there now, and it's not comfortable for him to travel. He's getting up there in age, and his bones aren't the young bones that they used to be when he used to climb telephone poles. So I don't blame him. They're comfortable. They have a really nice house in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they're comfortable. And I don't blame him. He doesn't want to travel. And so, um, yeah, it's one of those things. I love to meet other new people. It's one of those things. I don't mind driving. I love to see new areas and meet people. I'm a people person. Sarah is learning to be a people person. She's more introvert, and I'm definitely, I like people in small quantities. I'm an extrovert in small quantities. I don't do big crowds anymore. You would not find me in New Orleans on New Year's Eve. I will say that you won't find me anywhere near a big crowd. Um, I don't even go to Fourth of July, big celebrations anymore. They're just too. The world has changed, and you got to think about that every time you go out to these big crowds anymore. Unfortunate. Um, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's that's one of the things. I was in the Air Force, and um, I've been on some interesting flights. Let's put it that way. I was on a C-5 flying out of Thailand, out of Bangkok, and the plane broke, and we just barely got it to. It was on takeoff, and they had to do an emergency shutdown, and just stopped short of the end of the runway. I've been on a C-130 that was tail heavy, and the nose gear wouldn't come down when we landed. And we had to send a group of about 5 big guys up to the front of the plane just to bring the nose down to be able to land. Yeah, that was fun. Um, I've been on Lear jets. I've been on helicopters, but I don't really care to fly. Um, yeah, it's one of those like, yeah. I was on an airplane, actually flying out of Dallas before we lived here, and it was about this time of year. I was in the military, and we were heading back to California. It's just me, um, and a de-icing truck came up to de-ice the airplane sitting at DFW, and it backed into the wing and moved the airplane back probably 3 to 5 feet, moved the airplane. And so that, had all these people come and check the airplane, the wing, and the guy that was doing all the checking just looked at up towards the pilot and just gave a thumbs up, and we flew. We took backed out and flew. And it's like that whole thing is like, that one made me nervous. Um, I was on a plane flying. I can't remember where it was. It might have been in San Francisco, where a lady went nuts. There, it was a very. There wasn't. It was probably maybe 20 people on this plane, and she was nervous. And they closed the door. And when they close the door, you can kind of feel that pressure on your ears. And she immediately got up and started screaming. She wanted off that plane. And her husband was there they were just sitting, just like across the aisle from me. And she got up and bolted and ran to the door. And the people on the airplane let her out. And then they closed the door again. And I said, "Is she with you?" And she said, "Oh yeah, that's my wife. We go through this all the time, and she'll drive home." And he got on stayed on the plane, and we left. But yeah, it's one of those things. You got crazy, and that was before the crazy days that we have today. Anyway, I should get moving. I see my computer over here is dinging at me. My boss is looking for something. But I wanted to check this software out, see how it was working. It's good to hang out with you guys for just a little bit. And I'm going to do some other testing with some other things here pretty soon. If you haven't heard of OBBM, like Oscar Bravo Bravo Mike network, OBBM network, it's pretty interesting. They do a lot of local, wherever you are, local city council, education boards, all those meetings. They stream all of those. And we actually have a channel that they asked us to do. It's our Two Does Bees and Gardens on OBBM. So we're doing some things with them. I just met with them the other day. And if anyone is interested in doing something like that with setting up a channel on a local network, shoot me an email and I can hook you up to the people that are trying to put this thing together. They're looking for, I will say, conservative content for families. And it's one of those that, it's definitely it's not like your normal, what you would consider media these days. It's not these, ultra liberal, things that are going on. And it's one of those things. I hate to put labels on people because people are people. You might think a little bit different than I do. But I'm going to treat you with respect, and I expect the same. But if you're interested in seeing something out that might be available, or something that sounds like something you might be interested in, shoot me an email, and I can hook you up with the people, and it might be something to explore. Anyway, I got to get moving, and I appreciate you guys, and we will talk again soon. I've got a video coming out here in just about 20 minutes or so, where I talk about solarization and occultation, how we're expanding the garden with, killing the Bermuda grass and nutsedge and all that stuff, and trying to get the garden. I hate to pull weeds. And if we try to create a sterile seed bed before we put in any garden space, because if you don't, or here, the Bermuda just comes back and takes over. So we do solarization, occultation to kill the Bermuda grass and field weeds before we build garden, which takes us a lot longer to build garden. But the amount of weeding we have to do is significantly decreased. So I've got a video on that coming out. Just a short thing. But anyway, it was good talking with you guys. And we will be around soon. Look forward to seeing you all a little bit later. I don't know if the Blands are doing their live tonight, but if they are, I'll probably be there and get myself back to work and check in on things. And it was good talking to you. We'll see you again soon.